8.1, 8.2, they're both bad. I mean, people expected 8.1, it came out 8.2, and everything went to hell. Like, why? Why is that a thing?
It did, but it bounced back pretty quick. I mean, we're 5 hours from the news hitting the market, and everything's back up basically where it was last night.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was unreasonable. Like, I still don't understand why it ever happened, even if just for a brief moment in time. Was everybody that scared of 0.1%?
Apparently.
And then, apparently so, but not us.
And then it bounced back. I mean, it came back quick. So let's, how about we talk a little bit about the challenge, because that's going to be part of the fun part that we're discussing today on some of the trades we've made.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, first off, I'd like to say I nailed sushi on the short.
And I hit the ETH short.
Indeed.
So if you guys would have been out there and not taking financial advice from neither Craig nor I, as we are not financial advisors, but if you happen to get in about the ranges that Craig and I did get in on, you'd have been pretty happy.
Yeah, I'd say so.
All right.
Did you have any other shorts that you hit this week?
Well, what I did was I was in on the short when we were on the show last week, and I called 1330 was my exit number. And when it pulled back on Saturday, it hit 1328 originally, and then bounced from there, went back up to the mid 1330s, low 1340-ish range, and then from there retreated on down to the 13 teens, 1315, 1320. But it was still a good exit for me. I was pleased. I hit the number that I wanted to get. And as we've talked before, there's always another trade. So once I got out of that trade, I reloaded into your sushi short that you had called. And for me, I was watching it work the channel, and it was swinging about 4 cents. And I went in at roughly 3x what I had in my margin account. And I did the trade 3 times, in and out over the course of 2 or 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, into Monday morning. I was on a flight Monday afternoon. I didn't want to be caught off guard by anything that took place while I was in the air, so I didn't hit it completely flush on that last day, where it had a really good pullback on Monday. But I mean, all in all, that was what I was working on. I was unavailable to do much of checking the charts and the RSIs, so I'd already kind of had an idea what I wanted to do over the weekend, and I just stuck with my plan. I know that you went in pretty hard with sushi. How'd it turn out for you?
Well, if we remember from previous episodes, I have abandoned the completely conservative approach to the challenge, and I've decided to take a much more simplistic approach in just checking the RSIs, checking the charts, looking for the supports. And this week was the best week for me to change strategies, because not only did I hit the sushi, I hit a short on INJ, I hit a short on Q&T, I hit a short on Maker, I hit a short on ANC, I hit a short on H-bar, and I hit the long this morning on ADA.
Well, I didn't work into what I hit yesterday because
That's fine, but I'm just saying, simply by looking at the RSI and previous supports and resistances, I was able to find that many options this week alone. I know it's kind of an odd week because everything just went down pretty heavily, especially this morning, but it just goes to show that you don't need anything fancy to find these hits. I mean, some of these I'd never heard of before, like ANC, and some of these are some bigger names like Maker, right? And that was that is and was the strategy for the week. And it was just little chunk plays, just 20 to 40 bucks per short. And mind you, in my margin account, I only have 700 in there right now. So I'm not playing with a bunch of money. It's just put in, hit it, and out. And I'm up 200 on the week on those little dink and dunk trades. And if you're somebody listening and you're not playing with a lot of money, it don't take a lot of money. And really on these shorts, I'm not going 10x. I'm not going 5x. I'm usually going 2 or 3x on these things. And just like I said, just trying to find a reasonable level for it to come down and hit. And if it goes past that, good for it. But if I can hit what I want to hit, I'll take the money.
Well, that's kind of the point of the challenge that we're doing. We're putting in $100 a week into our account. We can short it and long it. We can work the margin aspect of it. It can be a spot trade. You've got some that's in a bot, or you can let it sit on the sidelines. It's kind of up to us on how we're doing it. We are using real money. We're making real trades with this, but that's part of what we're trying to show is that it doesn't take $10 or $20 or $50,000. It can be a build up to having that much in there to make those bigger plays. So, Craig, you're just now at the point where you're trying to hit those $20 and $40 ones, and remembering. I think on a side note, we need to make a new rule, and there's always another play. That should be our number 9 rule, but we'll work towards it. There is, and you. That's exactly what you're going over. There's always a trade out there, and it helps you on the psychology part.
I think there's always another trade. It's not always obvious though, right? Because I'm looking for very specific indicators. I'm looking for 3 different candlestick lengths to be at a certain RSI, whether it's at the bottom or the top. And I'm looking for some TA on the supports and resistance. And sometimes kind of the whole market's just kind of this middle range and there's not an obvious trade. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not a trade because the market will move, but there's not always a clear indicator on which way I need to play it.
Let me ask a couple of questions about your trades. As you went through and you put in your sells, I assume that you put in a automatic sell and you just let it go, right? Or were you watching the market to just pushing the button and getting out when it got there?
Most of the time there's a limit order out there.
Okay. Was there any point when you were like, okay, well, that wasn't good enough. I wish I would have stayed in. Or once you got your return on it, you were immediately going ahead and looking for that next spot to go into? How did you, the psychology part of it, how did you navigate over these 7 or 8 trades over the last 4 or 5 days that you were making? Were you good with it after it was all said and done? Did you make peace with yourself?
Well, yeah, because I have a limit I want to hit, and when I hit it, I can't be mad about hitting the limit that I wanted to hit. Now, if one of these would have blown up, or down, I guess, if I'm playing shorts, if one of them would have just absolutely tanked, would I have been disappointed a little bit inside that I had a limit set out there and I could have made more money? Of course. Like, it's never fun seeing that you could have made an extra $100 and you didn't. But, I'm not going to be mad that I hit the limit that I wanted to hit, right? So, I'm at peace. Now, I do need to look back slightly into a rule we have on scaling in and scaling out, in which on these I did not scale out. But then again, I didn't scale in either. I didn't have the opportunity to scale in. I set the opportunity to scale in, right? Because I didn't just go the full 5X and I'm done. Mm-hmm. I was leaving room to scale in. So I played into the rule a little bit, but on the scaling out, I guess I could have scaled out, even a 2-step scale out instead of just out in one. But I was pretty solid on the limits I'd set, and I'm okay with that.
Well, I would say to refer to Rule 1 on having a plan, or I guess Rule 2 having a plan, because that was your plan, is to get to that point and then pull out and then get to your next one, right?
Yeah, really the plan. I didn't
short scalp just to hit that money and get it out and get to your next trade.
But the second part of your statement of and look for the next one or get into the next one, I guess I looked for the next one, but man, I did not expect to hit this many shorts in 1 week. The opportunity just kept presenting itself, because typically I found that the market moves together, at least relatively together. And I would have expected that when I got out of one short, I would have missed the moment on the other opportunities to get into shorts, because the whole market would have moved down already. And it just didn't play out that way. It felt like every day there was a new one that was almost at that level. And it's like, okay, maybe later today I can short this one. And then you get in and it pulls down and you get out and you're like, okay, well, everything's probably came down. It's too late to short. And then you find another one that's almost ready to short. And it was very surprising to me. I did not expect that to be the case. If you would have told me sitting here last week that I would have completed 7 margin trades, I would have laughed at you. I couldn't imagine 2, like 2 solid little $20, $40 profit hits, but 7 of them, yikes, that's a lot.
So right now, this is our week 16, so we just have our $100 that's hitting this week will put us at $1,600 that we have put in to this challenge. Where are you at right now on your challenge in both your trading accounts, your bot accounts, and your margin account?
Well, taking the conservative approach out the gate did not do me any favors, especially in this bear market where everything's slowly trickling down. The bots have more or less held their own. I know that my Bitcoin bot is down about $11. You know, there's 500 in it. It's down about 11. So they come out 2% ish, a little over 2% down. That's not bad. The grids are helping keep that more even because Bitcoin is down more than 2% from where I got in. But outside of that, I've moved everything out of there and into the margin account, and the last week or two has just been the shorts and this morning's long, and that puts the account up 200 total. So the margin account must be up about 211.
So what I have done is I'm trying to keep my trading account, the spot account, more or less, keep it somewhere close to the margin trading account as far as the total funds in each one. Like I said, we've allocated $1,600 at this point. I'm currently sitting at a total value of both of those accounts at $25.28. So I'm up about $928. So just over 50% versus what we've put into it is pretty good for me. And I've been pretty pleased with it. I've been more aggressive on doing the margin trading, the H bar, which as we were leaving the office yesterday, Craig caught that H bar and was like, "Hey, this one looks pretty good. RSIs were set right," and he was already into it. And it was a little while before I could get into it, but I got into it, scaled in, and I'd set all my limits to get out. And by this morning, I was pretty much out of it and had a pretty good pullback, about 10% on it for what I had in there. Hit about a little over $300 on that one hit, so it worked out pretty well. Since then, I was a little bit more patient this morning. You went into an 8 along this morning once the market had kind of gotten that pullback into it. I was looking for a retest before I got into it. A little bit more patient on my part, which is a little. I was being conservative, and again, this is one of those weird times where we kind of reverse roles. For me going to the conservative route at points, and Craig going quite a bit more aggressive, but it seemed to work out because you also hit that ADA trade.
Indeed, I did. Made a quick 40 this morning in about 5 hours?
Yeah, I guess it was. Yeah,
I did it before I got into work today.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that worked out pretty well for us. So right now we can discuss rule number 7, when the pattern breaks. Up till this point, we've discussed rule 1, being patient, rule 2, having a plan, rule 3, scale in, scale out, 4, know your patterns, 5, check the chart, 6, RSI before you buy, Craig's favorite indicator. And we are currently on when the pattern breaks. And next week we'll discuss a little bit about knowing your limits, which Craig has none. Craig, let's talk about these patterns.
May I talk about one thing real quick?
Why do you keep interrupting?
There's always breaking news.
Whoa.
There's always breaking news with me on this show. I've just entered into another short. And how I just talked about how it always seems like the market moves together, and yet somehow an opportunity just falls in front of me. Another one has fell in front of me where I found ENS, an old favorite, Ethereum naming
system. Oh, is it service?
It's service. Yes,
okay.
It is. Would you like to guess? Well, let's see. What was the price 24 hours ago? Today is the 13th. So I need the 12th. Oh, these are 15-minute candles. Yikes. Let's back up here. 10, 12. Okay, about 24 hours ago. Got to back up a little bit more. Okay. The high was 17, 24 hours ago. Market's been pulling back. Where's the price at now? I'll give you an over-under at 16.5.
Well, if the rest of the market's been pulling back, I'll take the over.
You would be right, but then what if I tell you over-under 18?
I'll still take the over. I'll put it, is it closer to 20?
It's at 1858.
Okay.
Hit a high of 1881 in this hour's candlestick. RSI on the hour is at 74. 74 on this morning's pullback. Now, you would think that with the whole market pulling back, yeah, like a rip up would do some good, but not on ENS. I have 74 on the hour. I have 64 on the day, which is a little bit lower than I typically like it. And I have 66 on the 4 hour, which again is a little bit lower than how I typically like it. But then you scroll over to previous highs. Before this morning's dip, not even this morning's dip, before two dips ago, 1825. Before that, I had a high of in the 16s. Before that, 16s again. And then 18, there's a nice 18 there. The last time it was at 18, Alan, was at the beginning of August, 2 months ago.
I wonder if there's any news that's come out on it recently that's caused that to rip up today. Why?
So I got the short at 1865, and it's
You're
already
doing good.
1853. So I'm calling it. I'm calling the short, and I'm calling a target price right now. I'm getting out around, I need the top of this candle right here. I'll get out $1 less. I'll get out at 1765.
Man, that's pretty wild. I can't believe it's had such a big rip today. I wonder what has caused that to push up.
It's just a crazy week of opportunity, Al.
Man, it's nuts.
Anyways,
I'm gonna wait until
I'm
gonna wait until I can see some news on that, because something's gonna come out.
I'm playing impulsive.
Okay. So again, we're at the point at which I've gone conservative and Craig has gone ludicrous. So
ludicrous. All right,
So when the pattern breaks, so this one is really more of a psychological trading rule where you're trying to take all the emotion out of it. You're trying to tell yourself, yes, go ahead. Sometimes you've got to take a loss when you don't want to. And this is one of those times that can save you some money by going ahead and getting out when you don't really want to, because you keep hoping that it's going to come back. But hoping is not a plan.
Yeah.
Hoping's what you do when a plan fails.
That's true. Yep. Yeah, it's not uncommon that you're watching a pattern and you're thinking, for example, and this, you could also like sub rule this into like waiting for retests. But, if we're looking at a descending triangle and we're seeing a low RSI descending triangle and we're saying, you know what, we're thinking this is going to break to the upside. And then that pattern breaks down. That's not a good time to get in. And if you are in thinking it was going to break to the upside, you just got to get out. If you're getting red flags opposite of the direction that you're wanting this price to go, holding on is not always the best idea. And it's an option between, do you have your hope now that your plan has failed that it can at least come back and break you even, or do you just cut bait, take the loss, hopefully a small loss, and just move forward? Because you're not going to hit every trade you get, right? I had 7 margin trades this week, and I've hit every one of them. I just got into ENS. If ENS goes bad and keeps going up, I don't want to negate all of the gains I just had this week because I held on too long on one trade. If ENS keeps going and it just rocket ships, like, I'm going to have a limit set to get out and just take the L.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. What do you use to set your break? Once that comes out and it's broken that pattern, do you wait until it's gone 1% down, or are you looking at previous previous levels where there's been some issues of support, or are you just like, well, once it breaks that, you're completely out of it?
So it'll depend how close the next support or resistance line is at, right? Because those lines are good indicators. So if something is breaking down and I'm longing it, if the next support is only $1 lower, maybe I'll play to that support and I'll set my limit there, thinking maybe it can bounce off of that and recover. But if there is no clear support, or if the next one seems like it's a ways down, I'm not hoping that it comes back up before then, because there's no indicator that it should. And so I'm going to probably just play a certain percentage loss and just cut it there. And to talk about clear indicators, it reminds me of like pancake swap, right? Until recently, when it was coming down off of the 10s or the 8s maybe, there was no bottom. Pancake was just falling to the floor and we had no idea where it was going to stop. And I wanted nothing to do with that. I didn't want to short it because it's lower than it ever been. So there's no reason it can't go up significantly. And I didn't want to long it because there's no support that has never been here before. I don't know how low it's going to go. It was just a no man's land. Now, since then, we've seen it settle into the 4s, has been like the low 4, high 3s has been a pretty solid floor for it. So now we see that. But back when it broke down from 8, and now I have no line, I have no indicators, that's just, don't touch it. And so, yeah, I'm looking at the supports mostly, but if there is no support to look down to on that break, I'm just going to put a percentage in there and say if it hits this, I'll take the L.
Very nice. So for me, it's okay. Well, so we're also back into the time frame issues, because that's a big thing for me. Is, are you looking at on it breaking that your original support? You're looking at breaking on the 5, the 10, the 15, the 20, the 30. There he goes, all the way. He's at the 100-yard. That's that. So what time frame are you looking at? Are you looking at, because you use 3 different indicators on your RSIs, and when you draw your TA, are you looking at one of those specifically, that it's okay if it breaks it on the 15-minute, but it's not okay if it breaks it on the hour?
Well, most of the time, if I'm looking at it from this perspective, it's going to be on some sort of short-term trade. So I'm not using typically not using a day candlestick support to show the 1 hour and 4 hours most likely. But if I'm in something very long-term and it's breaking down, I'm not jumping ship, because the reason I'm in that long-term is because I have faith in it long-term. These short-term pullbacks, Bitcoin's a perfect example. For the longest time, I've said Bitcoin doesn't like to be below 20. And so that's why I started that bot, and I've been buying in, even on my personal accounts, I've been buying assets around this level. And now it's broken down. And it's obvious that the 20,000 is the new resistance. The old support became new resistance. And just because I broke doesn't mean I'm cutting bait and waiting for a lower price and trying to get into the next support, because I truly believe that Bitcoin will be at least $40,000 again at some point in the future. So there's no reason for me to get out now and try to, just take the loss and move on. I guess if I really wanted to try to time it, I could get out and buy back in at a better price and end up with more Bitcoin holdings. But that's just a risk I'm not willing to take, because there's nothing that says that good news isn't around the corner while I'm out and then I miss the upside. So yeah, if I'm doing a short term, like I'm trying to hold this thing for a week or two, I'm looking at these breaks. But if it's something I'm holding for a year or two, I'm not so concerned about them.
Okay. Well, so here's the question. Going into this weekend, it's Thursday right now. What are you looking at? Aside from the ENS that you're in right now, is there anything that you're looking at on those larger time frames that you are eyeballing for the weekend?
I can't say that I am. Really, for the last week, what's been doing me well is just looking for the outliers, looking for the ones that are increasing or decreasing at a rate outside of what the typical market is. And I can simply just take the list on the margin trading account and sort by percentage gain or percentage loss. I look at the extremes, I look at the charts, and then I determine if this is something worth getting into. So I'm not eyeballing anything specifically right now other than ENS because I'm in it. But outside of that, we'll just see what opportunity happens to pop up.
So your call for this week is ENS.
A short on ENS.
And entry between, would you still get in at 1850, 1845?
Yeah, I like where it is right now. Like I said, the target for me is 1765, and that's mostly because it's an even dollar. I think the number was actually 1776, ironically. Go America. But, I mean, just upper 70s. So even if you're looking for a quick $20, $40 shot like I've been doing all week, you could take 100 ENS, short it, and from 1850 down to 1820, you made yourself $30, and I think that could happen today.
Well, for me, I'm not looking at anything that I'm holding longer than 12 hours. I don't want anything that's going to have to deal with any economic news that's coming out tomorrow. The banks, and there's going to be a couple of smaller third quarter earnings that is going to hit tomorrow, and I don't want to be on the hook with any of that stuff hitting. If the banks come out and it's not good, it's going to make the stock market very nervous, which can make everything else nervous. If you're in something and it's a short, that's great. That'll help you catch it. But I'm not looking to long anything. If I do anything, it's going to be a short. And I don't know that I'm going to do much until everything is done and sewed up on Friday. I'll play through the weekend. I'll be looking to be out of whatever I'm in by the evening on Sunday, because that'll be the end of the week. And then I'll be kind of eyeballing to see what happens next week. More of the tech companies and stuff are coming out. I can't remember when. Usually the big ones that affect us are going to be Google and Amazon. Some of the tech companies will be what is going to hit us. Facebook got smashed yesterday. The information that Oculus came out, and it was super expensive. Mm-hmm. You and I talked about that. You talked about it because you're a little bit more into the gaming aspect of things. But when that came out, that wrecked Meta. Like 5%, they got whacked when they're like, hey, we got this great new product. It's $1,500. And everybody was like, God. Don't know if you realize this or not, Mark, but we're in a recession. And people aren't going to be looking at dropping $1,500. Now,
to be fair, it was meant for commercial use, that model. I mean, it's meant for the people that want the high-end VR and mixed reality experience, and for commercial settings. Rumor is they have a Quest 3 coming out. That was a Quest Pro that was launched. Rumor is there's a Quest 3 that's coming out that should be closer to the $600 range. And while that's still more expensive than their previous headsets, one, it's an upgrade, and two, it's still much more competitive a price than the Index or the Pimax or the HTC Vive, and so I think they'll see better results when that comes out. But I don't know how far out that is either. I suspect they'll get it out in time for Christmas, though, because Christmas sales for the Quest, that's always their spike. So I don't know. If you see anything coming out on Quest 3, it might be time to get into Facebook just for a short little bump.
And like I said, nothing that we've provided today was financial advice. It's for entertainment purposes only. Do your own research. Craig, that's it for today.
All right, man.
All right. Hey, guys, thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next week. This is Crypto BS. I'm Al.
And I'm Craig.
Tuning out.
That is either. I suspect they'll get it out in time for Christmas, though, because Christmas sales for the Quest, that's always their spike. So I don't know. If you see anything coming out on Quest 3, it might be time to get into Facebook just for a short little bump.
And like I said, nothing that we've provided today was financial advice. It's for entertainment purposes only. Do your own research. Craig, that's it for today.
All right, man.
All right. Hey, guys, thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next week. This is Crypto BS. I'm Al.
And I'm Craig.
Tuning out.